4,300 crore rupees. That's roughly what quick commerce companies lost in a single year. Every business channel has shown you this number. Every debate is about this number. Is quick commerce a bubble? When will the burning stop? And yet, the dark stores keep multiplying. The apps keep delivering in 10 minutes. The money keeps flowing in. A company losing thousands of crores in a year, somehow expanding faster, not slower. If the loss were really the whole story, this business would be dying. It is not. Which means the number everyone is watching is not the number that actually runs this business. This is the story of the number nobody shows you. The one that explains why a business this loss-making refuses to die. Quick commerce in India is barely 5 years old. It went from a novelty to a third of online grocery in some urban homes in that time. But here is the thing that should stop you. The faster it grew, the more it lost. Revenue up, losses up at the same time. In any normal business, that's an alarm. You're selling more and bleeding more money. So why does the capital keep coming? And why do the founders keep expanding into the loss? Because there is a third line. One that doesn't appear in the headline. And to see it, you have to stop looking at the profit loss statement and start looking at the cash. Why does this matter to you right now? Because you use these apps. Your money paid upfront instantly is part of the machine. And understanding what happens to it between your tap and the supplier payment tells you more about this business than any loss figure ever will. Here is the version every explainer gives you, and it's basically correct. A typical order is small. Out of it, a chunk goes to the delivery, a rider the 10-minute promise, another chunk to running the dark store. By one widely cited breakdown, 100 rupees order, 40 to 50 goes into delivery cost, 20 to 25 in operations. So the story is thin margins, brutal cost. Salvation is only through bigger orders and more frequency. True. And if you stop there, which is where almost everyone stops, quick commerce just looks like a money furnace, waiting to either fix its unit economics or die. But that's the cost of one order. It tells you nothing about how the whole business is financed. Here is the fact that the last numbers completely hides. Watch the timing of the money. When you order, you pay now, instantly. In the metros, the shift to paying upfront is essentially complete. The company has your cash the moment you tap paid. Now, when does the company pay the supplier? The one who made the biscuits, the atta, the shampoo sitting in the dark store. Not now. On terms, days later, weeks, sometimes months later. And how long does that packet of biscuits actually sit in the dark store before it sells? In quick commerce, probably in few days. The inventory turns over fast. That's the entire point of business model. So look at what that means. The company collects your money fast. It sells the good fast, but it pays the supplier slow. But that gap is holding cash it has collected, but not yet paid out. The gap has a name, and it is the number nobody puts on the thumbnail. In plain language, the business is being partly funded by the gap between collecting your money and paying its suppliers. The supplier, in effect, finances the inventory. Your upfront cash sits in the business in the meantime. This is a float. This is not a trick and it is not a news. It is exactly how DMart runs. It is how Amazon ran for years. A business can be thin, even loss-making on paper, and still sits on pool of other people's money that funds its operations and its growth. The faster you turn the inventory and the longer your supplier terms, the bigger the pool. So now the contradiction from the start resolves. A company can post a large accounting loss because of the dark stores it built, discounts, rider costs, and still have structural cash engine underneath that makes the lender and investors willing to keep funding. The loss is on the income statement. The float is on the balance sheet. They tell two different stories. But, and this is the part an honest analyst must include, the float is not magic, and right now it is not winning. The expansion is so aggressive, the losses in new stores is so heavy, the cash being raised from investor is still pouring out faster than the float can hold on. The float explains why this model is fundable. It does not yet mean the business funds itself. So what actually decides who survives this? Not the loss. 3 things the last number can't show you. 1. How fast inventory turns. The faster goods move, the more the float works for them. 2. How long suppliers can be paid later. The more power the platform has over its suppliers, the bigger the float. 3. Whether they can slow the expansion burn before the funding mood changes. And here is where it touches you, honestly, without exaggeration. As a customer, your prepaid cash is part of the float that funds this. As a citizen watching a sector that now feeds third of some urban grocery baskets, the question is not, are they profitable yet? It's what happens to the suppliers, the small brands, and the prices when 1 or 2 players win, control the float, and set the terms for the entire chain. The mainstream version says, they are losing money, watch the burn. The fuller version says, watch the cash cycle, the supplier terms, and the flow. Because that is the machine. And the loss is just its exhaust. Now that you can see the float, here is what changes. Not how to invest, how to read this sector like someone who understands it. 1. When a company reports a big loss but keep expanding aggressively, stop asking, how are they still alive? Ask instead, what is funding the gap between their cash in and their cash out? The answer is almost always working capital. And it's almost never in the headline. 2. When you read about any business being loss-making, ask the banker's question. Is it cash generative or cash consuming? A company can be one without the other. The income statement and the cash flow are different documents that tell different truths. 3. When 1 or 2 players start to dominate a sector built on supplier float, watch the supplier, not the app. The first sign of who really holds power is who waits longest to get paid. The goal is not to make you cynical about an app you find genuinely useful. It is to make you the kind of person who, shown a loss, immediately asks where the cash actually is. We started with a number designed to alarm you. A company losing thousands of crores, somehow expanding faster than ever. You have now seen the machine the last number was hiding. The fast collection, the slow payment, and the float in between. The reason a loss-making business can still be a fundable one. and the three forces that will actually decide whether it leaves. So here is what I had leave you with. Not a verdict on any company, a habit. The next time someone shows you a loss and asks you to be shocked, ask them where the cash is. The number on the thumbnail is rarely the number that runs the business. I will see you in the next video.